What if I told you that everything you've ever desired, every dream, every goal, every ounce of joy you've sought, is already within your grasp? Not because of hard work or luck, but because you are the creator of your reality, whether you realize it or not. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's the profound truth taught by Neville Goddard, a man who spent his life unveiling the mysteries of human consciousness. Neville believed and demonstrated that your imagination is the ultimate power, the force that shapes everything you experience in life. But here's the twist. Most people go through life unaware of this power. They let their thoughts run wild, their emotions unchecked, and their beliefs tied to limitations imposed by the external world. What if your struggles and limitations weren't real? What if they were just illusions created by your own mind, reflections of deeper beliefs you've unknowingly accepted? Neville taught that the only obstacle between you and the life you dream of is your own consciousness. And he gave us the tools to overcome these obstacles, tools that take the form of 7 spiritual tests. But these aren't tests like we're used to thinking about. There's no pass or fail, no grade waiting at the end. These are transformative challenges, moments that push you to awaken to your true nature and mastery. They demand self-awareness, courage, and an unwavering belief in the unseen. Today, we'll unravel these 7 spiritual tests and how they guide you to the mastery of consciousness. This is not just about personal growth. It's about awakening to the realization that you are the author of your story. These teachings have the power to shift your perspective, dissolve limitations, and reveal the infinite potential that lies within you. So, I'll ask you this. Are you ready to see reality not as it appears, but as it truly is? If so, let's dive into the profound teachings of Neville Goddard and uncover the path to your consciousness mastery. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. Everything you've ever experienced in life, your successes, your struggles, your relationships, was orchestrated by a force so intimate and yet so overlooked that you barely notice it. That force is your consciousness. Neville Goddard taught that consciousness is the one and only reality. He didn't mean this in an abstract or philosophical sense. He meant it literally. What you hold in your consciousness, your beliefs, your thoughts, and, most importantly, your imagination determines the reality you live in. This is not a metaphor. It's a universal law. Neville's teachings rest on one profound idea. Your imagination is God. Not a distant, external deity, but the very creative force within you. Think about that for a moment. What if you were not just a part of the universe, but its very center? What if every thought you entertain and every feeling you dwell on was shaping your life in ways you couldn't yet comprehend? For most of us, this idea feels both empowering and terrifying. If we're creating our reality, why do so many of us feel powerless? Why do we struggle even when we try our best? According to Neville, it's because we've forgotten who we truly are. We've become lost in the illusions of the external world, believing that life happens to us instead of understanding that life happens through us. This is where the 7 spiritual tests come in. These aren't tests in the traditional sense. They're challenges designed to wake you up to your creative power. Each test pushes you to confront your limiting beliefs, reclaim your imagination, and realize your oneness with the divine. They're not easy. They demand that you look within, often at parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But passing these tests is the key to transforming your life. In this video, we're going to explore Neville Goddard's 7 spiritual tests for consciousness mastery. We'll break down what each test involves, why it's important, and how you can use it to shift your reality. But let's start with the foundation of Neville's teachings, the imagination. Neville believed that imagination isn't just a mental tool. It's the very essence of creation. Imagination creates reality, he would often say. And he didn't mean this as a vague concept. He meant it as a direct instruction. If you can imagine something vividly and believe in its reality, it will manifest in your life. This sounds simple, but as Neville pointed out, it's where most people struggle. We've been conditioned to trust only what we can see, hear, and touch. We've been taught to believe in the evidence of our senses rather than the power of our inner vision. The first step to mastering your consciousness is to reverse this conditioning and realize that the unseen is more real than the seen. Neville often compared this process to a seed being planted in the soil. Your imagination is the seed, and your belief is the soil in which it grows. But just as a seed takes time to sprout, your manifestations may not appear instantly. This is where the tests come in, tests of faith, persistence, and self-awareness. As we go deeper into this journey, keep one thing in mind. You already possess everything you need to pass these tests. The power is within you, it has always been within you. Neville's teachings are simply a guide to help you uncover it. Now, let's move forward and address one of the biggest challenges people face when trying to master their consciousness: the problem of feeling stuck. Why does it happen, and how can we overcome it? Let's explore. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, yet nothing seemed to change? You set goals, you try to stay positive, you follow all the advice you can find. Yet, despite your best efforts, your reality remains the same. You want transformation, you want success, you want peace, but it feels like you're stuck in a loop. You ask yourself, why is it so difficult to break free from this pattern? Why can't I change my life? This is a dilemma that many of us face. We feel disconnected from the life we desire, powerless to create lasting change. We know that the world should be different, more fulfilling, more abundant, more aligned with our dreams, but we don't know how to make that shift. It's frustrating, discouraging, and can leave you questioning whether true change is even possible. Why does this happen? Why do so many people struggle to change their reality despite their best efforts? The problem, as Neville Goddard saw it, is that most people are unaware of the true nature of reality. They've been conditioned to believe that life is a series of random, external events. They think they're reacting to the world, not creating it. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Neville taught that everything in your life is a reflection of your inner consciousness. Your outer world is merely a mirror, showing you the images that are already present in your thoughts and beliefs. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, or limiting beliefs, that is exactly what will manifest in your life. But if your thoughts are aligned with your desires, if you can imagine and believe in a different reality, then that too will manifest. This concept can be hard to grasp. It's easy to look at the external world and think that it's solid, unchangeable, and beyond our control. We tend to think that if we want something, we need to go out and fight for it, to struggle and force the change to happen. This external battle becomes our focus, and we overlook the real source of transformation, our inner world. The problem isn't that change is impossible. It's that we're looking in the wrong direction. The true power to create change lies within us, in our consciousness, and in our ability to direct our thoughts and imagination. But that power is often dormant because we haven't learned how to use it. We haven't passed the necessary tests that would awaken us to our own creative potential. Neville believed that everyone has the ability to master their own consciousness, but this mastery is a process. It requires a deep understanding of the mind, the imagination, and the universal laws that govern reality. Unfortunately, most people never discover this power because they don't know how to tap into it. They're stuck in the external world, constantly reacting to circumstances instead of creating their own. This is why Neville introduced the idea of spiritual tests. These tests are designed to help you break free from the illusion of external control and reconnect with the true power of your consciousness. Each test challenges you to examine your beliefs, your thoughts, and your imagination, pushing you to a higher level of awareness. The goal isn't just to learn new techniques. It's to fundamentally shift your understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. Let's look at some of the challenges people face when they try to make lasting changes in their lives. One of the most common struggles is doubt. Despite all the self-help books, motivational talks, and affirmations, many people still doubt that they have the power to change their reality. They see the world as it is, not as it could be, and they believe their current circumstances define who they are and what's possible. Another challenge is the habit of reacting. Most of us are trained from childhood to react to external events. We are taught that if we want something, we must do something to make it happen, often through force or struggle. This constant reaction to the outside world keeps us stuck in a cycle of limitation. It's only by stepping back and realizing that the outer world is a reflection of our inner state that we can begin to break free from this cycle. The third challenge is persistence. Neville taught that the power of the imagination is real, but it takes time to manifest in the physical world. Many people give up too soon, frustrated that their desires haven't appeared overnight. They think that because they've visualized something, it should materialize immediately. But just like planting a seed, the process of manifestation takes time. It requires consistent belief, focus, and faith that your imagination is shaping your reality, even when you can't see the evidence yet. So why do people get stuck? The answer is simple. They haven't yet learned to master their consciousness. They haven't learned to take control of their thoughts, beliefs, and imagination. And because of this, they continue to create the same patterns in their lives, even as they long for something different. The good news is that you don't have to stay stuck. These challenges aren't permanent. They are part of the process of awakening to your true power. By understanding and passing Neville's spiritual tests, you can break free from these limitations and step into the reality you desire. Now that we've identified the challenges many people face, feeling stuck, disconnected, and powerless, let's begin to understand how we can break free from these limitations. The key lies in grasping the metaphysical principles of energy and consciousness that Neville Goddard taught. By aligning ourselves with these principles, we can start to shift our reality. At the core of Neville's teachings is the concept of consciousness as the creator of reality. If we want to transform our lives, we must start by transforming our consciousness. But what exactly does this mean? Neville often referred to our imagination as the gateway to higher consciousness. He taught that the world we see is only a reflection of the inner world, the realm of imagination, thought, and belief. Everything you experience in your physical life has been shaped, directly or indirectly, by your consciousness. This includes your circumstances, your relationships, your career, and even your health. If you want to change any of these things, you first need to change the inner mental and emotional patterns that created them. One of Neville's central ideas is that the power of the imagination is not just a mental exercise. It's the primary force that shapes your life. Your imagination is the creative force, the divine spark that brings things into existence. What you imagine with feeling, belief, and passion will eventually manifest in the physical world. But here's the catch. Most people don't realize this power because they've been conditioned to think in limiting ways. They doubt their own abilities, they believe the external world is unchangeable, and they trust only what they can see with their eyes. Neville taught that the first step in mastering your consciousness is to recognize that everything begins within you. If you want to change your reality, you must start by changing your inner world. This is where the spiritual tests come into play. They guide you in understanding and applying the universal laws that govern consciousness. Let's explore some of these tests and how they help us tap into the hidden power of our consciousness. 1. The test of imagination. Neville believed that the most powerful tool we possess is our imagination. Everything starts with a thought or a vision. But for most people, imagination is seen as a mere fantasy, a temporary escape from reality. In reality, imagination is the beginning of creation. The test here is to use your imagination consciously and deliberately. Imagine your ideal life, your desires, and your goals as already real. Don't just imagine them as something distant or unattainable. See them as if they are already happening in the present moment. This requires a shift in perception. Neville often encouraged his students to live in the end, as though their desires have already been fulfilled. Imagine the feeling of having what you want right now. The more vividly you can imagine this, the more real it will become to your subconscious mind. The test of imagination is to see beyond your current circumstances and believe in the unseen as if it were already a reality. 2. The test of faith. Neville emphasized the importance of faith, not faith in something external, but faith in your own inner power. Faith is the bridge between the imagined and the material. It's what allows you to trust that the seeds you plant in your imagination will eventually sprout in your physical life. Many people struggle with faith because they want immediate proof before they can believe. But Neville taught that faith doesn't come from external evidence. It comes from an inner knowing that what you have imagined will come to pass. This test challenges you to trust in your own imagination, even when there's no visible evidence to support it. Faith is the test of persistence. Can you maintain your belief in the unseen even when the outer world tells you otherwise? 3. The test of assumption. Neville's principle of assumption is one of his most profound teachings. He taught that assuming the feeling of your desire as already fulfilled is the key to manifestation. This test requires you to assume the state of your wish fulfilled, embodying the feeling of living in the reality you want. Assumption is more than a mental exercise. It's a deep emotional experience. To pass this test, you must align your emotions with the assumption that your desire is already a fact. This is where many people falter. They can imagine their desires, but they don't truly feel them. Without this emotional alignment, the creation process is incomplete. The test of assumption challenges you to act, think, and feel as though your desires have already manifested. 4. The test of persistence. In Neville's teachings, persistence is a powerful force. It's not about how much you do, but how consistently you hold your desired state in your consciousness. The outer world will often try to convince you that your desires are impossible or that you need to take immediate action. But Neville teaches that the key to manifestation is persistence in your inner world. The test of persistence is about holding your vision steady, regardless of what's happening in the external world. This test is not about forcing or struggling. It's about trusting the process and having unwavering faith that your desires are already on their way. Persistence in your inner assumption is what strengthens the seed of creation, allowing it to grow and eventually manifest. 5. The test of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations you can align with. Neville often said that gratitude for your present state, even if it isn't exactly as you desire, is a powerful force that accelerates manifestation. The test of gratitude challenges you to practice thankfulness, even before your desires appear. By feeling grateful for what you have, you send out a vibration of abundance to the universe, inviting more of what you want into your life. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance. It's a reminder that you're already whole, and everything you desire is already on its way. The test of gratitude asks you to trust that the universe is always providing for you, and to express sincere thanks for what you're about to receive. 6. The test of detachment. While Neville emphasized the importance of desire and imagination, he also taught the principle of detachment. The test of detachment requires you to release attachment to the outcome. This doesn't mean you stop desiring or imagining your ideal reality, but rather you stop obsessing over it. You trust that it will come at the right time in the right way. Neville often said that once you've planted the seed in your consciousness, you must let it grow without interference. Attachment to the outcome creates resistance and blocks manifestation. The test of detachment asks you to trust the process and let go of any anxiety about how or when your desires will manifest. 7. The test of inner peace. The final test is the test of inner peace. True mastery of consciousness comes when you can remain calm, centered, and at peace no matter what's happening around you. The external world may be full of chaos, uncertainty, or obstacles, but when you are truly aligned with your inner self, none of that will disturb your peace. Neville believed that inner peace is the natural state of someone who has mastered their consciousness. This peace comes from knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly and that you are always connected to the divine source. The test of inner peace challenges you to maintain your calm and trust, even in moments of doubt or difficulty. After exploring the 7 spiritual tests that Neville Goddard laid out for us, you might be wondering, what's the ultimate takeaway from all of this? What's the one truth that ties everything together? the pivotal realization that transforms the way we view ourselves and the world around us. The key moment in Neville's teachings is the profound realization that the power you seek is not outside of you. It's within you, and always has been. This is the game-changing insight, the realization that your consciousness, your imagination, and your beliefs are not passive reactions to the world but the very cause of your reality. This is a truth that can be difficult to accept because we've been taught for so long to look outside of ourselves for answers. We've been conditioned to believe that the world is something external to us, something we must try to control, manipulate, or react to in order to survive or succeed. But Neville taught something radically different. He said that the world you experience is a reflection of your inner state. The things you desire, the things you fear, and the things you focus on in your mind are shaping the reality you see. At the core of this teaching lies a principle that is both simple and profound. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. This concept, often attributed to the law of conservation of energy, is as true for consciousness as it is for physics. The energy of your thoughts, emotions, and imagination doesn't disappear. It's transformed into your experiences. The thoughts you hold in your mind today are the experiences you will live tomorrow. Imagine for a moment that everything you've ever believed, every feeling you've ever had, has been forming the world around you. The doubts, the hopes, the joy, and the fears you've carried in your heart and mind have been the blueprint for your reality. If you've been living in a state of lack, fear, or frustration, you've been creating more of the same in your life. But if you can shift your thoughts, align with your desires, and consistently assume that your dreams are already fulfilled, you can begin to transform your reality from the inside out. The true power, as Neville often said, lies in the imagination. Imagination is not just daydreaming or wishing for something that feels unattainable. It's the actual creative force that shapes your world. To truly harness this power, you must see your desire as already fulfilled. As Neville put it, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel it as though it's already happening now. This is the point at which you shift from mere wishing to creating. You stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the change. In the moment you realize that your imagination is not separate from the reality you experience, a huge shift occurs. You stop seeing yourself as a powerless observer of life and start recognizing that you are the creator of your own story. This is the moment when the invisible power within you, your consciousness, your imagination, your energy, becomes a tool that you can consciously wield. This doesn't mean that everything will instantly fall into place. Change takes time and persistence is key. But once you awaken to the fact that your mind and emotions are the true driving forces of your reality, the way you approach life changes. You stop reacting to external circumstances. Instead, you begin to respond from a place of inner knowing and creative power. One of the key truths here is that you don't need to make things happen. Instead, you need to allow them to unfold by aligning your inner world with your desires. This is why Neville's tests are so important. Each of these tests challenges you to confront your current beliefs and habits and shift them in ways that align with your true creative power. For example, let's take the test of imagination. To pass this test, you don't just think about your desires. You imagine them as if they are already real, in vivid detail and with the corresponding emotions that come with fulfillment. If you've ever vividly imagined a future goal, you've already experienced this transformation in a small way. Now, Neville teaches us to do this deliberately and consistently. The test of faith also plays a crucial role in this transformation. When you trust in your imagination and your creative power, you are no longer swayed by external circumstances. You develop the faith that your inner world is just as real, if not more so, than the outer world. The test of assumption challenges you to feel as though your desire is already fulfilled, regardless of the current circumstances, which builds the energy for manifestation. The test of persistence, too, requires you to stay aligned with your assumption, even when the external world seems to contradict it. It's this persistence in maintaining the inner state of fulfillment, despite appearances, that solidifies the creation process. Neville often said, if you persist in a state, it will inevitably lead to its fulfillment. But perhaps the most profound of all is the test of inner peace. When you align with your true creative power and begin to understand that your imagination shapes your reality, you start to experience peace. The chaos and struggles of the world around you no longer disturb your calm, because you know that your inner world is the true source of all transformation. At this moment, when you truly understand that consciousness is the creator, you become the master of your own life. This is the point where you stop waiting for life to change and start realizing that you've had the power to change it all along. You are not just a passive observer of the world. You are the creator, the artist, the architect of your own experience. As you begin to pass each of these spiritual tests, you'll experience an increased sense of empowerment. The doubts and limitations you once held will begin to dissolve, replaced by a deep knowing that you are connected to the divine creative force of the universe. This is the moment when you realize the invisible power isn't something distant or abstract. It's a living, breathing part of you, waiting to be harnessed for your highest good. To summarize, Neville Goddard's teachings reveal that the key to mastering your life lies not in the external world, but in the power of your own consciousness. By understanding and applying the principles of imagination, faith, assumption, persistence, gratitude, detachment, and inner peace, you can begin to reshape your reality from the inside out. The first step in this transformation is to realize that everything begins within you. The world you experience is merely a reflection of your inner beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. As you consciously direct your energy through the spiritual tests, you will begin to see your desires manifest in your physical life. Neville's work invites us to break free from the limitations of the material world and recognize that we are creators, not passive participants. The universe responds to the energy we send out, and by aligning our inner world with our desires, we tap into the infinite potential that is already within us. When you start practicing these principles, you'll begin to notice subtle shifts in your life, new opportunities, positive changes in relationships, and the unfolding of long-held dreams. The process is not about forcing outcomes, but about trusting in the power of your own consciousness and allowing the universe to respond in its perfect timing. By passing the spiritual tests Neville outlined, you unlock the ability to navigate life with greater ease, knowing that you are the master of your own reality. This understanding gives you the peace, confidence, and power to move forward in alignment with your highest purpose. Now that you have an understanding of Neville Goddard's powerful spiritual tests and how they can transform your life, it's time to take action. Remember, the knowledge of your inner power is only the first step. The true magic happens when you begin to implement these teachings into your daily life. If you found value in this video, if you feel inspired to take control of your consciousness and start creating the life you've always desired, then subscribe to this channel. There's so much more to explore when it comes to unlocking your true potential and understanding the deep metaphysical principles that shape the world around you. In our future videos, we will continue to dive deeper into the concepts of energy, consciousness, and personal transformation, all from the lens of spiritual wisdom and practical application. You'll discover even more insights from Neville Goddard's teachings, as well as other esoteric and metaphysical philosophies that can help guide you on your path to mastering your reality. By subscribing, you'll be part of a community of like-minded individuals who are on a journey of personal growth, self-discovery, and empowerment. Together, we will learn how to harness the hidden forces of consciousness and energy to create the life we truly desire. Don't wait for change to come to you. Start making the change today. Begin applying Neville Goddard's spiritual tests, practice imagination, assume your desires are already fulfilled, and watch your world shift in ways you never thought possible. If this video has sparked something within you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences with Neville's teachings. I'd love to hear how these principles are impacting your life. So, subscribe and let's continue this journey together. Master your consciousness. Master your life.